This is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, retold at the pre-intermediate level, Chapter 9. Escape. There was nothing I could do. Orlick was big and strong. My hands were burnt. They were tied behind me. I was in a lot of pain. Nobody knew I was there. I was a dead man. Why did you trick me? Why did you want me to come here? What did I do to hurt you? I shouted. Joe always loved you when you were a boy. Nobody ever loved me. I lost my job at Miss Havisham's. You told Mr. Jaggers to send me away. You came between me and Biddy. I loved her, but you told her I was a bad man. You took my job, you took my love, and you took my life. So now I'm going to take yours. Orlick then picked up the candle and put it near to my face. I could feel the fire. I could feel my hands burning. Orlick could see I was afraid. He laughed a horrible, cruel laugh. It was me, Orlick. I hit Mrs. Joe with the hammer. She always hit me when I was a boy. It was my turn to hit her. Everyone thought it was the convict because I left the leg chain next to her. I found it on the marshes and used it. But it was me. I hit her. He put the candle near my face again. I tried to move my face away. "Ah, the poor burnt boy's afraid, is he? Afraid of the fire? Well, I'll tell you something else, burnt boy. It was me on the stairs outside your rooms when Magwitch came that stormy night. I know all about him. I know all about him and Compeyson. Compeyson's my friend. He told me all about your Uncle Abel, and he gave me some work. What do you think of that?" I didn't know what to think. I thought about Joe and Biddy. I loved them very much, and I was very sorry. Poor Joe, poor Abel. "Help! Help me! Help!" I shouted as loudly as I could. But I didn't think for a moment that anyone could hear me. I was alone on the marshes with the murdering Orlick. Suddenly the door opened and 3 or 4 men ran in. They jumped on Orlick and threw him to the floor. Orlick was strong. He ran out of the door into the night. Then I felt someone untie my hands. I looked up and saw it was Herbert. "Herbert, my dear friend, and my old friend Startop. Thank you so much, my dear, dear friends. But how did you know I was here?" "I found this letter on the floor. It isn't your writing. I came as fast as I could. I knew it was probably a trick. Startop was with me. He wanted to help. Now, let's get you back to the Blue Boar and put some bandages on your hands." The next day, we took the early coach back to London. I was very tired after my fight with Orlick. I immediately went to bed. I slept until the following morning. I woke up feeling better. It was time to visit Mr. Jaggers. I wanted to find out all about Estella's parents. I wanted the truth about Molly and Estella. Mr. Jaggers and Wemmick were in the office. They were working. Mr. Jaggers knew some of the story about Miss Havisham and the fire, but he wanted to know more. I told him everything about it, and I gave him the message from Miss Havisham about Herbert's money. Mr. Jaggers looked at the message and then gave me a banknote for £900. "I'm sorry, Pip, that we can do nothing for you," he said. Miss Havisham said the same. "I really don't need anything, but I asked her for one thing." "What was that?" "I asked her to tell me all about Estella. She told me everything she knew." Mr. Jaggers looked surprised, but I continued. "Now you must tell me the truth. Molly is Estella's mother, isn't she? And you took Molly's daughter away from her. You gave her child to Miss Havisham." "Yes, Pip, that's right. It seemed the right thing to do. Her father was dead. Her mother was in prison. The poor little child had no one. It seemed a good idea to give her to a rich lady. I did it because I wanted to do the best thing for the little girl. Well, perhaps you don't know, but I do. Estella's father isn't dead, and I know who Estella's father is. Mr. Jaggers was very shocked. He really had no idea. Is he alive? No, I didn't know. Who is he? His name's Abel Magwitch. He's from Australia. Mr. Jaggers explained all he knew about Estella's story. I believed him. I knew more than he knew about Estella's history. We decided to keep the secret. We decided that it was best for everyone. We didn't tell Estella. We didn't tell Abel or Molly about their daughter, Estella. A few days later, Herbert and I received a letter from Wemmick. Early next week or Wednesday at the latest is a good time to go with your friend. There are ships ready to leave. Now, burn this message. My hands were still bad. I still couldn't row. I was worried about Abel. I couldn't row all the way down the river. I couldn't row to the port. Herbert had an idea. Let's ask Startup to help us, but let's tell him as little as possible until the actual day. As usual, Startup was a good, kind friend. He agreed to help us. He rowed up and down the river with Herbert every day. Once again, it was normal to see our boat on the river. No one could think it was strange. I went to get passports for Abel and myself. Herbert and I went to find out about ships. We decided that the ship for Hamburg looked the best one. There were other ships leaving at the same time, so there were plenty of chances for us. The day came and I packed my bags, but I didn't really know what to take and what to leave. Herbert and Startup rowed our boat down the river to Abel's house. Abel seemed calm and relaxed. We carefully checked that no one was watching, and Abel got into the boat. Herbert and Startup rowed down the river. They rowed all day. When dark came, we stopped at a quiet, lonely part of the river and went to a hotel for the night. We were the only customers except for an old farmer. We had a good dinner and sat by the fire. Did you meet the other boat on the river? The farmer asked. What other boat? I said. The one with the 4 men in it. It was going your way. They looked like customs men to me. Perhaps he was right. Perhaps they were customs men. But I was worried. Perhaps they were following us. We all went to bed, but it was difficult to sleep. The wind was strong outside, and I was thinking about the 4 men in the boat. I got up, and I looked out of the window. Then I thought I saw something. There were 2 men in the dark. They were looking at our boat. Then I saw them walking away. At breakfast the following morning, I told everyone about the 2 men. As usual, Abel was calmer than anyone. They were customs men. The farmer said so. It was important to be careful. We quietly left the hotel. No one was watching us. We rowed down the river and then began to see some ships. We saw our Hamburg ship in the distance. It was coming towards us quite fast. We went towards it, and Herbert, Startup, and I all said goodbye. None of us had dry eyes. Then suddenly we saw another boat coming towards us. It was coming away from the side of the river. It was moving very fast. There were 4 men in it. They looked like customs men. They quickly reached our boat, and one of them took our rope. 3 of the men were policemen. The 4th man hid his face. You've got a man from the transports in here. Which one is it? Tell me, which one of you is it? Said one of the policemen. Herbert, Startup, and I went onto the police boat, but Abel and the 4th man started to fight. Abel pulled the 4th man onto our boat, and I saw that it was Compeyson. The Hamburg boat was still coming towards us quickly. People on the ship were shouting to us, "Get out of the way!" Suddenly, there was a horrible scream and a loud bang. Abel and Compeyson disappeared. Their boat was in pieces in the water. The Hamburg boat continued on into the distance, and there was a terrible silence. Then I saw a dark object in the water. It was Abel. He was trying to swim towards us. The policeman pulled him out of the water and put handcuffs on him. We couldn't see Compeyson. Abel was badly hurt. We took him to the hotel and put him into some dry clothes. I couldn't leave him. I said goodbye to Herbert and Startup. The policeman carried Abel down to their boat, and we went away to Newgate Prison, Abel and I together. I visited Abel every day in the prison hospital. He didn't get better, he only got worse. On the day of his trial, I went with him. It was over quickly. He was a returned transport, it was obvious. The judge didn't say life this time. He said death. I wrote to judges and I wrote to politicians. Abel Magwitch was a good man, but no one wanted to listen to me. Day after day and week after week, I visited Abel in the hospital. All the time, he was getting worse and worse. He was dying. I was with him at the end. I held his hand and talked to him. I told him that I loved him. I told him about Estella. I told him that his beautiful daughter was alive. More than that, I told him that I loved her. He smiled and kissed my hand. He cried. He was a much better man to me than I was to Joe. I cried too. Abel died. Abel was dead and Abel was a convict. All his money and his property belonged to the state. I was now a man without any expectations. I had no money. I was poor. Herbert went to Cairo. "Come with me," he said. He had a new business there. But I was tired. I was tired from the days of going to and from the hospital. "I'll follow you when I can," I said. As well as feeling tired, I was sad about Abel. I became ill. I became very ill. There was no one to look after me. I was alone in my rooms. Days and nights passed. I didn't know what was happening around me. I could see people coming into my room and going away again. I didn't know who the people were. I couldn't talk or see. Someone was looking after me. I don't know how long I was ill. One day I opened my eyes and I began to see the world around me. I saw my bed and my room. I saw the light from the window and I saw Joe. I cried and cried. "I got a letter. It said that you were very ill. I can read now. Biddy taught me. So, when I read it, I came immediately." He held my hand until I fell asleep. I was happy he was with me. In the morning, he talked to me about his news. Biddy and Joe were married now, and he was very happy. I was a little sad because I liked Biddy. I thought I could marry her myself. But I was happy for Joe. "And what about Miss Havisham? How is she?" I asked. "Not so well, Pip. In fact, she's not well at all. In fact, if you want to know the truth, Pip, well, I'm sorry to say that she died. I'm sorry about that, but that's the way it is, or was." I slowly got better and became strong again. I went to visit Joe and Biddy at the forge and saw them as a very happy couple. Biddy was angry with me for being so horrible to Joe. She was right, and I said I was sorry. She forgave me. There was nothing left for me now in England. No Biddy, no Estella, no money, and no expectations. I had nothing to lose. I went to Cairo to find Herbert. I went to help him with his business. The days passed into weeks, the weeks passed into months, and the months passed into years. Herbert and I were very successful in business, and I became a partner in his company. I wasn't poor anymore. Herbert and I were good business partners. as well as always being good friends. Joe often wrote to me when I was in Cairo. It was wonderful now he was a reader and a writer. I loved to hear news of home and the forge. Joe and Biddy had a little boy. They called him Pip. I was so happy. I talked to Herbert. It was time to visit home. There was fog over the marshes when I returned. It was cold and wet, very different from Cairo. Joe was waiting for me at the coach when I arrived. We hugged each other warmly. It was wonderful to see him. "Come and meet my young Pip, Pip," he said. "Pip meets Pip. How good is that to hear?" I went back to the forge and had a wonderful dinner with Joe, Biddy, and little Pip. I was so happy to see them. The following morning, I decided to go for a walk. I was curious to see Saddis House and all the places from my youth. Joe walked with me. I went to the church and visited my parents' graves. I went to the place where I gave Abel the food and the brandy. I went into the village and looked in the shop windows, and then I went on to Saddis House alone. There was nothing much left there when I arrived. No house, only the walls around the garden. The garden wasn't really a garden anymore. It was more like a jungle. I walked around it for a while, trying to remember things that I wanted to. It was easy to remember other things that perhaps I didn't want to remember. While I was walking and thinking, I realized there was someone else in the garden with me. I looked up. Estella. "I have changed a lot. I'm surprised you know me." She was older, it was true, but her face was softer. She was still very beautiful. She was dressed in black. "It's so good to see you. Are you well? Do you come back here often?" I asked. "This is my first visit in many years. Yes, I'm well, but I'm now alone. My husband died a few months ago. It's good to see you too, Pip. I hear you are working abroad. Do you like it? Are you doing well?" I said that I was, and that I was sorry to hear about Bentley Drummle. We talked and talked until the sun was low in the sky. We promised always to be friends. I knew then that we were always going to be together.